I had to remake this video because of it was kind of in a slower pace than what I normally do when it comes to making video. Also, I am setting up on this one because I need to tell y'all something that you might want to stand up about. And that is that life is actually really gray. I'm not talking about it in a negative way or just a dark era. But what I'm talking about is this mentality that the world is trying to force on us is the absoluteness of everything. Like everything is black and white. Which in actuality, we live in a very gray world. Like I said, not trying to be negative or anything like that. There's only a few things that are actually, hey, these are actually absolute. Everyone will pass away. And so I wanted to talk about a few things in music history, AI world, and just some of the stuff that are happening in the world about it. Without further ado, let's get started with the whole reason why I am making this video. And that is the movie Chevalier that goes on the story of Joseph Blanche, who was the first black composer in France, as you may say from the language of it. Also hair. I think my hair is acting up because you haven't pressed the like button yet. So it does follow the story of Joseph Blanche and his journey. It started off from him being in the slave colonies in the US, going to France because he was born in America but had to live in France. So he learned about all the French stuff. It shows of his struggles of being the black mixed breed person, what they call the quote unquote Negro of the school, getting bullied but still overcoming and being one of the top students of the academy that he was at, and eventually going to be a Chevalier, also being involved in the French orchestra opera. He was that good. They tell a story, which I don't know is true because he's based off of history, about his encounter with Wolfgang Mozart, which he embarrassed. But do we know about that? I don't know. It's not in music history. But here's the thing about music history. Yes, his story was trying to be erased from the world, from French history. He was really made a big impact in the French world. Now, which got me questioning, was he mentioned in this music history book? And I was in music history class during 2012-13, in that era, the mid 10s. And he was not in this book at all. But also too, Maria Antoinette was not in it too. They didn't mention that. Now, some people would say it's controlling of the narrative, or it's purposely doing it to erase history. Maybe is, maybe not. Or the book, that the reason why it was chosen is because of the test. If you don't know what test I'm talking about being a public school teacher, especially if you're in a specific subject like music, you have to take a test. And whatever is on that test, you're gonna have to know it because there will be music history regardless in it. Maybe Marie Antoinette, Joseph Blanche was not in it. I don't know when they decided to make him be a part of French history or not. It does have that grayness to it because of, if we really thought about a whole book about music history, just the US alone would be a very thick book. Like, we're gonna have volumes of decades and then subdivide it off to by years and subdivide that by genres. Yes, there's a lot of music history out there, and that's just in America. Think about the whole world history. A lot. It will be a lot. So there are those great things. And yes, there has been reports of people trying to get erased from music history because of something that they did, or maybe a blank stuff that people weren't agreed on. It can just be natural where you did not make that big of an impact in the music industry to be nationwide, worldwide. You maybe just be in that regional area just because you made that impact in that area. And not everyone going to be recognized, regardless of their impact in the music world. The East Coast, West Coast thing. Let's be real. LA versus New York in the music. Because of the time, LA, New York were the big meccas of the music world. Other than Nashville, LA, and Miami. That got me into two things. Speaking of music history and the music industry, we talk about this AI world that is going on. Now, some people would be absolutely agree on it. Some people are super for it, and major people are very anti against it. Where am I in it personally? Guess what? It's gray. Yes, because of how the benefits are and are not with it. And I feel like we can get rid of AI, especially when it comes to music. It's gonna happen regardless. Here are some of the things that I see as a benefit to the music industry. Able to assist with creativity of artists. Because sometimes, I'm not gonna be real, some people can't get into a front of, I don't know what to do. I may need assistance with this one line, or maybe how this sound and this measure. Will it go through? And I'm not talking about trends and all that. I'm just basically thinking about that thing of just a little help assistant with the writing to make it clear and be like, oh, that sounds better than what I've written on that. Because maybe you don't have a lot of collaborators. Maybe ChatGPT is your main collaborator, but you help it in assistance, not writing the whole thing from writing, recording, mastering, mixing. Not in that way. That is a lazy way. Sadly, this one I didn't consider until I saw a news video about it, and that was with Randy Travis' new latest country album. He had a stroke, and I believe it was in 2015, 2016, that rendered his vocal impaired, his mental, able to create music. Even though he probably had this down the line. I'm not in the country world, but when I talked that to a friend, he was just like, oh, I didn't know that AI was used for it. Even though he has a speech impairment from the stroke, it helped him to actually get his music out that he had created and produced. And yes, they used previous old recordings of him to get it through and use somebody else in it. Which, hey, and people recognize it, and the advancement of music helped of it. And with a negative part with it too, is with the rap beat, Tailor Made, where Drake used Tupac and Snoop Dogg voice, AI'd it, and all that stuff, which got into some controversy with Tupac's estate to like, hey, don't produce this song. It's not on streaming, for the reason why. Because he wasn't legally getting the voice of it. He didn't get the authorization to approve to use Pac voice in that way. So it got him in trouble. Maybe sued. I don't know all of the updates of it because everything's died down by this time. But yeah, you could see that in the laziness of it and helping with the negative of don't be using AI. But another thing that I was thinking about once Logic Pro 11 had got an update is the AI drummer simulator keyboard upgrade and bass, which actually got me thinking like, hey, something like this used as a tool to be used for mixing and mastering, where you could be like, okay, let me learn how to mix, and you don't have to spend hours and hours of trying to make a whole song so that you're able to mix and match. You have it right there, you're able to make it in a couple of minutes, and boom, you're able to learn how to mix and match, which isn't scary if you watch my last video. So that's the benefit. Now I'm seeing a downfall that people will just use the mastering AI this and just boom, boom, clack, clack. Everything sounds generic. I'll be on the negative side of it because that is abuse of AI, of just making the most generic thing. The one thing that I'm really, really hoping that don't happen is from an anime called Carol and Tuesday, where the whole algorithmic thing was making music and producing it out in this machine until there was these two girls making the music without the machine, making awesome music. Yeah, it's a futuristic thing, but I feel like we're getting closer and closer to that, so we may need some Carol and Tuesdays. Go on there. Should be on Netflix. It's a really good anime to watch. I mentioned it like 3 times. I'm not gonna lie. It was that good. Now I want your opinion. Are you joining the gray? Or are you gonna say black and white in your absoluteness closed mindset? Instead of seeing the gray and working together to advance the world. I want to know in your comments down below. Did I persuade you? Like it. If you want to add on to anything or correct me on anything, comment down below. And if you just absolutely hate it because I'm talking about one way or the other absoluteness, comment down the reason why. Come on. Let's have this conversation. If you got through this madness of my head, thank you for listening. I'll see you next time on whatever topic I'm talking about. I think next week is going to be all doing experiments because I got... Where are they? You'll see in the next video.